phone screen and sharing that live just for that TikTok algorithm. Y'all already know it. It's so good to see you all. Make sure to say what's good in that chat. I'm going to try to say hey to as many of the early birds as possible. What is up, Charlie? What is up, Neo? Pharaoh? What's up, Invisible? Daniela? Derg? What's up, Amelia? Vernon? What's up, 333? Snail? Moi? Caro? China? True? That one girl? Welcome in, everyone. All right, you guys. So we are back at it again with, even more conversations with Trump supporters as per our usual schedule. I mean, listen, some days we just have really good, productive, interesting conversations. Other days, it is just terrible. I'm really hoping that this is one of the good days, but I guess we'll have to wait to figure that one out for ourselves, right? But hey, if you're in here super early, one of the first people, please make sure that you are double tapping on that phone screen of yours or whatever device you are watching in from, and make sure you're sharing this live out with a couple friends. If you don't have any friends you want to share the live with, if you just copy the link to the live through the share button, it does the same thing, has the same effect. And lastly, hop in that queue if you, support Donald J. Trump, and we will get you up here in the box for a conversation. And we're going to get my main account up here just as a guest to kind of help us get the notification out to more people that were even live. And that's about it, you guys. We got that main account loaded in. Whoa, that is a loud microphone. And now we're going to go ahead and start loading in the people for debate. So if you're in the guest request, make sure that means you're MAGA, that you support the president, of course. And yeah, that's about it. Those are the ground rules, y'all. If you're a liberal, just stay out of that queue for me. What's going on, CBS? Do you support Trump?
Yes.
You do. How old are you?
16.
16. All right. Well, hey, man, appreciate your honesty. I guess I should also add on here, you got to be an adult from America. That's it. That's it, you guys. You know, it's those are the rules. All right. We have somebody in the queue named Dark Maga 3. Are you a troll or is this real?
No, I'm real.
Okay. And your profile picture says "Don't tread on me." It's, like the libertarian flag.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Donald Trump is treading pretty hard on you with all those restrictions on free trade, the tariffs. Those are very antithetical to libertarian values.
Yeah. I'm not like a libertarian. I just think that this, this flag, it's funny. My name's funny. It's not to be taken too seriously, but
Yeah, okay.
you can read into it a lot if you want. But it's just, I don't know, mostly to just be like a little bit of a troll.
But you still do support Trump. So tell us why. Take it away, man. You got the mic.
Well, I mean, like tariffs are bad for an economy, maybe, short term.
It's not a maybe anymore.
Well, it is. Actually, well, sure, it's inflationary, but like, is the debate is whether inflation is inherently bad. Inflation, excessive inflation.
It's not just inflationary; it also reduces GDP growth.
Right. I understand.
And I'm actually quoting Jerome Powell, the chair of the Federal Reserve.
No, I would agree with all of that, and I would concede a lot of the economic disruptions that tariffs may cause. Okay. However, my point to you is, or the point that I would raise is that, how else do we fight against? Because a large cost in manufacturing is what? Labor, right? Everyone knows labor is super expensive. And so how are homegrown manufacturers supposed to compete with foreign manufacturers that don't have to abide by labor laws and they have kids working in sweatshops and sure, yeah, things are cheaper for us because of that, but is that morally right? And then my question is, at what point do you say, short run disruptions and inflation might be worth it to liberate those people and create a more maybe fair economic, like just a more fair global economy, and that does take kind of disrupting the current one, so and cause instability and all of that. So.
I once again, I just want to repreface how actually funny I think it is that somebody with a libertarian profile picture is saying that restrictions on free trade create a more fair environment for trade to occur. And then second of all, you said, well, how do we compete with unfair labor practices overseas? And that's not why Donald Trump has implemented any of his tariffs. For instance, he's charging a 35% tariff on all goods imported from China. Sorry, not China, from Canada. Meanwhile, Canada actually has a minimum wage that is around 3 times higher than ours is here in the States.
Yeah, I never said that
So,
that was
so
his reason. I said that was my reason for liking tariffs,
okay, so you
especially on China.
oh, okay, so you only
I
like
I
tariffs
would I
on
would yeah.
producers
I'm
in
not
which
I'm not
use
going to
immoral
sit
means
here
of
and say
production.
everything Trump has done is
Do you
good.
mind if I just ask you a
I would
question?
never make that claim.
So you only support the tariffs that are on immoral means of production.
Correct.
So you don't support the other 99.9% of the tariffs he implemented.
He first of all he paused a lot of them because they were all reciprocal. He paused. He
That's also not
paused.
true. They weren't reciprocal.
They all were tariffs put on countries that have tariffs against us.
That's not true.
And okay, maybe there were a few extras, sure. However, he paused all tariffs on countries that did not reciprocate further. So it was
Deny that.
majority of the what?
Okay.
That's
How
why
about
the stock market
hey,
went
man,
back up. What are you talking
so
about? Don't you realize that? When he
what?
released that statement that he is
So
pausing the
hey, I'm
tariffs
about to
for
just put
90
you on
days
mute
on countries
here.
that did not
I'm about to just
reciprocate.
put you on mute here.
That's why the market went back up.
Sir, I actually tweeted about that. I that's what I said. Like the market went back up because Donald
Yeah,
Trump paused his tariffs. Which
exactly.
once
On
again,
countries that
sir,
did
sir,
not
what are you
reciprocate.
doing? What the fuck are you doing? Could you stop interrupting me? Okay, we're just gonna start at the top. Why do you support Trump? And the reason I say that I just want to start at the top was because you just ping ponged between like a billion things in the last 10 seconds. So we're just gonna start at the top. We're gonna ignore
Why
all
did I
that.
vote for Trump in the last election?
Why do you support the Trump administration?
I voted for Trump because I saw him as a better fit for America.
Okay, why is that?
And then I align more with the values of the Republican Party, I would say, than I
And why is
do
that?
with the Liberal Party.
And why is
Because
that?
I would say I am more of like a traditionalist in nature. Like I would say as like someone in Gen Z, obviously I'm inherently progressive, just being in the era that we grow up in, it's like
So what do you mean by you voted for Trump because you're a traditionalist? What does that mean? What is a traditionalist?
as in, I want people to immigrate into our country legally. I don't want there to be a flow of illegal immigrants into our country. I want people that come here
Okay,
to.
so you voted for Trump because you want to reduce undocumented migration into this country. Anything else?
That's a reason. I mean,
Okay.
it's not like I vote for someone for one reason. There's
Okay,
there's
so
also a
what are
lot
your
of
other
there's
reasons?
also a lot of like, you know, and I think this was evidently clear in the 2016 election. A big reason.
I don't want to talk about 2016. I
Well,
want
I'm
to talk about
saying this
2024.
relates to the reason that I vote the way I do, so it's relevant. I'm saying a lot of people vote against people versus for people,
Okay,
and so I think
so you
that
voted for
plays
Trump to
into
reduce
it
so you voted for Trump to reduce undocumented entry into America, and why did you vote against Kamala Harris?
because I don't like how progressive that the party has gotten on that
Okay,
side.
you think that she's too progressive? Could you give me an example
I
of
know.
a
I would
policy
say
she ran
that
on that was too progressive?
I'm saying the party as a whole is too progressive, so I do not
What is
want
that? What does that mean?
the people
How is her
the
campaign too progressive?
I'm not talking about her specifically. I'm talking about the party as a whole.
Okay, so I just want to clarify. You voted against Kamala Harris for something that didn't have to do with Kamala Harris.
Well, that does have to do with Kamala Harris because she
Okay,
aligns with those people. She aligns
exactly.
herself
I
as
want you to
allies with
describe.
those
I
people.
want you to describe the alignment. Like what sentiments did she speak about? What policy did she run on that was just simply too woke? What about her or her alignments were too woke?
I'm just saying the party as a whole. There's nothing that she may have specifically said
Okay, can you give me an example?
that the Liberal Party has or the Democratic Party has become too progressive for my
Yeah,
liking.
just something about what she ran on that was.
I
Too
mean, like,
progressive.
how about like Tim Walz putting tampons in men's bathrooms, like stuff like that. Things that I see as sort of attempts to indoctrinate the youth and
Okay. All
stuff
right.
like
Well,
that.
let's talk about it.
There's a lot of like
First
I'm all
so
for
now it's my turn to speak.
progressiveness,
Now it's
but
my
to
turn
an
to speak.
extent.
Now it's my turn to speak now. So Tim Walz passed legislation that just like simply gave funding to be allocated towards menstrual products in public schools. The bill never specified any specific restroom that they should or should not go in, and just merely gave them funding for menstrual products. So you're telling me that giving schools funding for menstrual products is too woke?
Okay, or I don't feel that Kamala Harris would have spoke out or done the same thing that Trump has done for protecting women's sports. So
Okay,
that's
so
something that
we
I
can't
feel strongly about as well. Like
we can't
that's
talk about
okay, I
stop
might have been
talking
wrong about
stop
that
talking
specific
stop
example.
talking.
Sure, I
I'm
can
telling you
concede
to
that.
stop talking. I'm telling you to stop talking. We cannot speak about T women and women's sports on TikTok. I'll get taken down, so will you. It'll be a
Oh.
bad day for everyone. But I hope that 10 people in the NCAA was not your biggest voting reason. Donald Trump has been accused of rape by more women than there is T women inside of the NCAA. So I just
Well,
want to clarify that.
again,
So you voted against,
no, but
um,
you keep
but
minimizing things
again,
by making it about specific examples. It's not about the specific those are I think that they're injustices, those specific examples that you're talking about, how there's only been so little of them. But the more you encourage and allow and promote that, the more it's going to happen. So it's about cutting a problem off at the butt,
okay,
snipping it
so
at the end,
I could give you an argument
then
insofar as why I don't
exacerbating
believe
and
that it's a.
promoting something.
So I could give you an argument insofar as why I don't believe it's a bad thing, but once again, we cannot even speak about that on TikTok. But
Okay,
I
but
just want
I
to
just wanted
clarify,
to point out how you
sir. I just want to
minimize
point
that.
out that I'd like to continue speaking.
Then don't minimize the arguments and the words that I'm speaking.
Oh my, oh
I
my
don't want to
fucking
have to
Christ.
correct
So
you.
now I'm going to have to mute you. Thank you so much. So yeah, you're telling me the biggest reason why you voted against Kamala Harris was because she didn't speak out against T women or women's sports. Once again, we can't talk about that on TikTok. I'll get banned. You'll get banned. Everyone will get banned. Everyone will have a bad day. And so, I don't really think that there's an issue with T women and women's sports. After 2 to 3 years of like HRT, there's going to be no indiscrepancies in which would grant an unfair biological advantage. But like, we seriously can't talk about that because of TikTok. So overwhelmingly, here's what I'd say. I just really hope that 10 people in the NCAA was not your biggest voting reason. Like, what would you prefer? 10 T women in the NCAA or America not being in a recession? Or America going into a recession, sorry. 10 T women in the NCAA or wealth being redistributed from the poor to the rich because of Donald Trump's economic policy, in which has reduced the effective purchasing power of every single American that makes under $395,000 per year. You know, what would you rather have? 10 people in NCAA or like Donald Trump announcing a plan to personally ethnically cleanse 2.1 million people off of the Gaza Strip? 10 people in the NCAA because you care about women's rights, supposedly, or actually fighting for the most pertinent issue as it relates to women's rights, which is fighting for federal protections for every single woman and girl's right to choose, because restricting upon a woman's access to elective abortions in the first 20 weeks of pregnancy is a human rights violation. And right now, 1 out of 3 women of reproductive age in this country do not have that access, meaning that there's an estimated 66 million human rights violations specifically targeted towards American women and girls. So even as it relates to this category of discussing women's rights, Kamala Harris was significantly better for women's rights than Donald Trump for the reason I just denoted.
And that's your opinion, man. You're welcome to take that opinion. I just disagree with you.
All right, well, this is a
I think
debate,
we
so
have
I'm
I
going to
think
ask
we
you
have
to prove me
fundamental
wrong.
disagreements, and I think that I do want to just say that I think that that's okay in our country, and I think that
Yeah, but I mean, let's just look at it simplistically, man. I've already made it clear that I disagree to you about T women and women's sports. But because we can't debate it, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to grant you the assumption that that is wrong and that's an injustice. So let's just do comparative analysis of who's doing more for women. So Donald Trump was going to right a wrong for 10 people. Meanwhile, Kamala Harris was going to right a wrong for 66 million American women and girls by ensuring federal protections for every single woman and girl to have a right to choose. So obviously, Kamala Harris was still yet a better candidate for women's rights, even if I grant you that the issue you brought up was an injustice.
well, again, like that's you saying that abortion is good. How about all of the unborn women that every year that die to abortion? Like
So do you think that
you
abortion's
don't care
wrong?
about them. You have to think about it. Like
Do you think that abortion's wrong?
I would say personally, I think it's wrong. Yeah.
Okay, why?
Because I personally view it like if I were to impregnate my girlfriend, I would want her to keep the baby.
Okay, I mean, this doesn't
Because
tell
that's
me
just
why.
my that's just like me.
This doesn't
That's
tell
just
me
me
why you think that
specifically.
abortion is morally wrong. This just tells me that you'd want to control your partner.
No,
So,
I
what
said
is
I would
one
want
reason
her
why
to. I
abortion
said
is
I would
wrong?
want her to. Keyword
Okay,
there. Want her
so
to.
what is one reason why abortion is
be on
wrong?
that side of the conversation. I would still
So,
have that
so,
conversation with
sir,
her and
so, sir,
respect her
I'm
decision.
only gonna ask you one last time. What is one reason why abortion is wrong?
Because I view it as immoral to terminate a pregnancy. I view
And
it
why is that?
personally because I believe that you are ceasing life that you created, that you acted. I had, the intercourse, which leads to procreation. I mean, look, I'm 21 years old. I'm not that old, but I'm old enough to understand that risk. And so when I partake in something that has such drastic results and it comes with the results, like if I crash a car and harm someone, I have to bear the consequences of that decision of me driving recklessly. In the same way that I take the moral responsibility in that, I take the moral responsibility in bearing the responsibility of promoting and helping that life that I created flourish. That's just my moral view. I'm not here saying that my moral view is correct. I have a weird position around abortion because I feel I lean slightly libertarian, and this is something where I'm like, I don't think that there should be per se laws against abortion. I think it should be regulated, as in there's probably points late in a
Hey,
pregnancy.
man, is there
where
any way
it's
to take what you're
immoral.
saying and condense it down to 2 seconds? I feel like every time you start speaking, unless I interrupt you, you'll be speaking for 5 minutes.
Well, it's a fairly complex
Yeah, and I mean that's
topic.
fine. I want you to be able to like
I would
flesh
say
out your
this. I
views,
would
but
say
it's like
this.
every time you speak and you go interrupted, I feel like I'm sitting here for 5 minutes.
Well, you asked me why is abortion wrong, and I said because I have my morality tells me that it's wrong, and you asked me to explain my morality. When you ask someone to explain their morality, you realize what that entails.
Yeah, I'm just asking you to give
Maybe
me
a few
a good
minutes,
rebuttal.
maybe a minute or two of a monologue that might entail that. I'm just saying.
So once
Don't
again,
ask that deep of a question. I
so
believe this.
I
I
how
believe
about
this.
we just
Abortion
started?
is
How about we
fine.
just
I
started
personally
the
would
talk
never
here?
promote
So
or want one.
let's just
That's
okay.
my view.
Well,
There you
good
go.
thing you can't get one. So you do think that abortion should be legal for every single American woman and girl, right?
Correct. To an extent, like as in there is probably a time within a pregnancy where it's too
Okay, what is
late.
that? What is that time?
I'm not. I would say when the baby is viable outside of the womb
Viable, so
is
20 weeks.
probably
So in
yeah.
other words, you and me have the same exact legal position on abortion. We think that it should
Correct.
be legal for every single American woman and girl to choose
Yeah,
to get an
I would
abortion
say like
inside of a dude.
15 to 20 weeks.
Dude, I'm sorry. I'm just gonna kick you, man. The only reason I'm gonna kick you is because you come up here, you speak for like 5 minutes, and then I'm like, "Come on, like we gotta get with it, man." And then the moment I open my mouth, you interrupt me 3 times in the first 15 seconds. What's going on, Brisket? Do you support Trump?
Trump 2024.
It's 2025, little buddy. We're gonna go ahead and move on to the next guest. Everyone, just go ahead and just give us a minute, y'all. We got Chandler loading up, and you guys, if you are in the queue, y'all, make sure that we do support Trump, guys. If you're one of the 5.2 thousand people watching in, make sure that you're double tapping away in that phone screen and sharing out this live to a handful of friends, and drop a MAGA or two down below in that comment section if you do want to come up and debate, y'all. And yeah, we're gonna go to get that next debate going. What's up, Dottie? Do you support Trump? Dottie, hello? Dottie's not here, quite frankly. Okay, moving on to the next guest. Just looking for that next debate with the next Trump supporter. Where are they hiding? Guys, we don't know where the Trump supporters are hiding. Where are they hiding, everyone? What's up, Christian? Do you support Trump?
I do, bro. Yeah.
Okay, how old are you, man?
22.
22. All right, Christian, take it away. Tell us why you support the worst president of your lifetime.
I don't know, man. I think it's just a common sense issue. That's really it. I mean, like I heard you talk about abortions before. I support women getting abortions at all terms. You know, there's things I agree with, but I just think we needed like to be a driving force again. You know what I mean? Just take power back.
Okay, real quick. What year are you born in?
2002.
2002. I mean, it lines up, guys. It lines up. Maybe what month is your birthday?
November.
Okay, all right. You would be 22. Turning
November
24.
19, 2002. There you
Okay,
go.
so you just want us to be a more powerful country?
I guess so. I think his agendas are better than Kamala, and with all these fucking guys with dicks.
Not
on
as
it,
it, not as
cool.
what? Okay, well let's go one topic at a time. So your first argument is that you want America to be really powerful, and then when I'm like, okay, you're like guys with dicks. Oh, okay, guys with, and he left. What the hell's going on today? What the hell's going on today? Okay, by the way, I just want to say, like the people on the right who will say like the left sexualizes everything, they're actually projecting. The amount of time that people on the right spend hyperfixated on genitalia, sexual orientations, and gender identities is unfucking real. I mean, not only was that last guy a good example of that, we're going into a conversation about economic power, and then he's like, oh, but penises. And like also, so last night I cooked some steaks and I posted a picture of them over on Twitter, and the captions literally cook some ribeyes. And then like every single reply is somebody just talking about like sex, and it's all rebuttal. I don't. What's up, Chris? Do you support Trump?
I voted for him. I don't know. I'm getting slowly swayed to the other side in the sense of all the stuff that's going on in Israel. I think that he hides a lot of bad stuff behind a lot of good stuff that he does,
Yeah, Chris.
Like
Well, I think
what?
that's
Raising tariffs on China?
one
like
second.
that?
Char-
I mean-
one
I mean,
second. One second, Charles.
I understand the concept of
Wait,
tariffs.
Chris,
Yeah.
don't respond to Charles. We don't know who Charles is. He's a random person.
Oh, okay.
Chris, well, man, that's awesome to hear, and I do appreciate you for coming up and sharing that with us. Honestly, what I'd recommend to you is just to continue to watch the live, because if you're like slowly being convinced to no longer support him, honestly, I think that this live is a perfect place for you to be.
Hey, will you
And
explain him that Trump's tariffs are?
one second, Charles. So, Chris, I do appreciate you so much for coming up, man.
Yeah, no problem. I understand what the tariffs do, but you have to understand what the implications on everything he's doing all that
Don't
once.
understand.
Don't listen or respond to Charles, Chris. I hope that you have a good rest of your day, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, of course. Now you could speak. Hi, Charles. Do you support Trump?
Donald Trump.
Oh, you're a liberal?
No, I hate Donald Trump. I think his tariffs are horrible for our economy.
Oh, Charles, we got to be better than this.
Well, no, I agree with you. I think you're a lot smarter than Donald Trump.
Well, I appreciate you, Charles.
And he hates trans community, and they
That is right.
want to go against the LGBTQ when it comes to let's see, Harvard University.
You know what, Charles? Your beliefs are based, but let's have some decorum in the life.
Yeah, but I
Your
think you're
beliefs are
smart.
based, and I do appreciate you, man. Charles's beliefs are based, but a little bit more decorum, a little bit more decorum. We're gonna go to move on to the next guest. We got Megan loading up. Everyone, just go and just give us a minute, y'all. If you're one of the 5.9 thousand people watching the stream, guys, make sure that we're double tapping on that phone screen, sharing this live out with a handful of friends. What's going on, Megan? Do you support Trump?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I was tapping.
Oh, no worries. Thanks for tapping, Megan. All right, we're gonna, hopefully see a couple people spamming MAGA down below in that comment section. I have not seen them yet. Seemingly is a little bit difficult to get the debates going for the day. Hey, I'll also say this. If you want to support me, you can find my Venmo, my PayPal, and the link tree in the bio. I get 100% of the proceeds over there. They all go straight to me. And it's a great way to support the stream. What's going on, King John? Do you support Trump?
No, I don't. I'm a liberal. I just wanted to say, can I take you out on a date?
Sorry, King John. Nope. But that is based that you are a liberal. And we're going to move on to the next guest. We got Braden loading up in. I have a strong conviction in my heart that Braden is like 14. No. All right, guys. Wow. All right, y'all. We are really just kind of looking for some Trump supporters to have some conversations with on this fine afternoon. Hello, Brian. Do you support Trump?
So that's a great question for me. So I voted for Trump in 2016, voted for Trump in 2020, and then made the decision to not vote for Trump in this last cycle. And I'll tell you why. It was because of January 6th. Now, I will say this. I've been a big Trump fan my entire life. I'm 50 years old. So since I was a baby, I've seen this man on TV, building gold hotels, building casinos. And if you read any of his books and you really look into this guy, you find out that he is not only the biggest con man that has ever tricked us and took like $9 trillion the first time, but he continues to be one of the greatest con men of all time. And what's hilarious to me right now, Dean, and by the way, I do like watching your stuff, And I literally changed who I was. I went from being like a registered conservative. I was anti everything that a conservative would be anti against. And I literally changed my tune during this last election cycle because of it. Because I opened my eyes to see that this man isn't a political figure. This man isn't a leader. This man is a con man. He's a casino mogul who only cares about one thing, and that's making a hell of a lot of money for himself and his friends. And that's exactly what he's been able to do over the last few months. Billions and trillions of dollars have been
Brian,
cycled off to Tesla and all these places.
You're absolutely cooking, and
I know. I appreciate you.
I think that you have a lot of really good things to say, and I actually agree with you. It's funny because January 6th is what inevitably I'd kind of switch my beliefs as well. And
Yeah.
I remember I was pretty young at the time, but prior to January 6th, I thought that, he might have some decent policy, I was kind of indoctrinated because of the family and whatnot. But come January 6th, I think that's when I realized, well, no matter how effective he is as a policymaker, he'll never be effective at leading our country in a good direction because of how much he divides it. But Brian, I appreciate you for your time, man, and I hope that you have a good
Thanks,
rest of your
Gene.
day.
Hey, you're doing great things. I promote you, and keep it going, bud.
Have a good one, Brian. Have a good one. All right, guys, we are just going to go and move on to the next guest. Keep in mind, y'all, that we are just looking to debate people that did indeed vote for Trump, y'all. Let's go and try to get that next guest, Jake James, up in the box. This guy is possibly like a 14-year-old. His bio is like football for life, so we got to double check that age. How old are you?
I am 22.
Very nice, man. You're a big football fan?
I am.
What are your thoughts on the CU Buffs?
Not that kind of football. I'm a NFL.
Oh, okay. You're an NFL guy. College football's a lot more entertaining, let me tell you. First and foremost, Amy, thank you so much for the $10 over on PayPal. I do really appreciate you for the love, Amy. Now, Jake, do you support Trump? Are you MAGA?
Absolutely.
All right, why is that?
Because I support his tariffs because it is unfair that other countries can do it on us, but we can't do it on them.
Okay, Jake. So a couple things here. I kind of disagree with tariffs across the board, but here's what I will say. When other countries tariff us, it maybe reduces our exports a little bit, but when we tariff other countries, it like sends us into a recession, cuts $10 trillion off of the stock market, and like bankrupts our own exporters because then greater trade wars are started. Tariffs are not a good tool to negotiate better trade agreements with other countries. They're quite brash and very abrasive. If we want other countries to reduce their tariffs on us, we should probably just diplomatically negotiate with them.
Well, I disagree with that, but all I gotta say is that Charlie Kirk will beat you in the debate, and that's all I gotta say.
Jake,
He will beat you in the debate, and he already did.
do you know what I debated him on?
It doesn't matter. He will beat you in the debate.
Okay. All right, Jake. Well, I guess I'll be the underdog of the event. Gonna prove everyone wrong. JK. Fun fact: Charlie Kirk is actually not a good debater. If you compare like I'm even gonna use somebody else from the right just to show you guys that this isn't coming from my own bias. If you compare Charlie Kirk to Ben Shapiro, it's night and day, bro. Ben Shapiro is, I'll admit it, a good debater. Ben Shapiro is probably the most intelligent people that the right has. All right. If you compare Ben Shapiro to Charlie Kirk looks like a child. I'm not even joking. I talked to them both. It was night and day. What's going on, Brendan? Do you support Trump?
Yes, sir.
All right. Why is that?
He is a great president.
Why is that?
The way he's doing with the economy, I absolutely agree with it. He's bringing business back to America.
Okay, I don't think that we could be bringing business back to America when our GDP is getting cut by 4% in one financial quarter, and the head of the Fed, Jerome Powell's like, oh my God, GDP growth is going to be negative for quite a while. And then Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan are like, there will be a recession this year. That's not super good for domestic production.
You're a businessman yourself, Dean. Look what you're doing right now. You're doing it right in America. Like
So-
you are quite literally on TikTok promoting your brand right now. And by allowing these tariffs, other companies are being forced to manufacture in America, which brings more money in.
Okay, so are you... but the way we'd bring more money in is if... Okay. I'm sorry.
is you have more
Sometimes,
businesses open up in
listen,
America
listen.
because it's cheaper to.
Sometimes like guests just say things that perplex me because the last point I made just completely refutes and disproves what you're saying, and you ignore it. So I think at this point, I'm just going to kind of go ahead and repeat what I already said. So right now, the tariffs have proved to be very bad for domestic output. The reason why I say that is because they've just destroyed consumer confidence and the predictiveness of U.S. markets, which means people are pulling their money out of stocks and kind of just hoarding it and keeping it to themselves. This has led to like huge financial institutions like J.P. Morgan predicting a recession this year. And all that a recession is like negative GDP growth. But of course, if there's more companies doing better here, we'd see like quicker positive GDP growth. So it's just like the current macroeconomic data that we have, as well as the trends in which are expected by financial institutions, as well as the Federal Reserve, completely contradict what you're saying. Thank you so much for the galaxy. I appreciate that. No, I'm sorry. That took me like a little bit to kind of figure out how to word because I feel like I already explained this. You know?
No, sorry, I wasn't in your live stream. I just barely kind of joined up. I wasn't like here for all of it. I haven't been watching the whole time.
No worries. I was saying, like I already explained this to you. Like this was the first thing that I'd said in your response, in my response to you originally. But I mean, yeah, how do you feel about that? You know, if you're saying that it's just going to bring more business to America, well, we just simply don't see that. Currently, the macroeconomic.
Well, not yet. That stuff doesn't happen overnight. Like you kind of have to like let it happen, right, Dean? Like you kind of have to let it like some time behind it, right, with anything. And like when the world,
I just think that's a cope. Like I don't think that. Okay, go ahead and explain to me how tariffs will increase domestic production of goods in the long terms, and the domestic production of goods in the long term.
When these big, like just for example, right? Okay, like car companies, you're no longer like shipping them overseas. So now these car companies have to build their warehouses and build their manufacturing warehouses here in America. That takes time to get these built now. That takes money and time to get these built. But as soon as they're built, then now they're looking for employers. They're looking employees. They're looking for people to come in and work, right? And so now you're getting Americans working in these warehouses and in these manufacturing facilities that bring in money and circulating in America.
Okay, so there's three things I'm going to say to disprove this. The first thing I'm going to say is this. Can we agree that Donald Trump is using these tariffs as leverage to negotiate better trade agreements with other countries?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, if we're going to be using these tariffs as leverage to negotiate better trade agreements with other countries, we'd have to be like willing to let go of the tariffs if we could achieve that a better trade deal, right?
I agree, but that's the reciprocal tariffs, right? That's already happening.
One moment. So if he is using these tariffs as a tool to negotiate better trade agreements, they're not permanent, okay? And nobody has confidence in the fact that they're here to stay, correct?
Sorry, repeat that.
So because he's using these tariffs as a way to negotiate trade agreements with other countries, the tariffs are not permanent and nobody has confidence that those tariffs are here to stay, right?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the country, I guess, and what's negotiated, right?
I mean, I'd say for any negotiation to take place, nobody can have confidence that they're here to stay because if our tariffs on other countries were confidently there to stay, well, then the other countries would have no reason to negotiate a trade agreement with us. So because he's trying to use them to negotiate with all countries, none of these tariffs are confidently here to stay. So what does that mean for like manufacturing inside of America in the long term? Well, these companies that are currently running their operations outside of this country would have to spend billions of dollars to build manufacturing plants here, and that'd take like 3 to 6 years to do. So these other producers outside of America would have to have confidence in the fact that our tariffs on whatever country they're producing in right now are there to stay. But we just agreed that they're not, which means that no, we will not have manufacturers spending billions of dollars to build manufacturing plants here because the tariffs are not confidently there to stay.
Well, but isn't that a good thing then? Like if the tariffs aren't here to stay, like doesn't that just like negate everything that we're talking about, right? Like then we're just back to like better tariffs and better trading, right? All around, it's a good thing.
It negates what you're talking about because you're saying that these tariffs will lead to a long-term positive impact by driving more American manufacturing. But
you're right. Yeah,
that long-term positive impact. So all that these tariffs are doing are causing short-term pain.
Okay, but like if no matter how you look at it, right? It's like one way or the other, right? You're either getting long-term benefits or you're getting better tariffs, right?
Okay, so
no matter what happens
so we're
here.
not getting long-term benefits, and no, I don't think it's a good idea to use tariffs as a tool to negotiate better trade agreements with other countries. I think it's a very bad tool.
What would you say is a better tool?
Well, I mean, sure, just diplomacy. But I mean, first, let me demonstrate to you why I think that tariffs are a bad tool. Let's imagine that you have a friend with like a JBL speaker that you really want. The JBL speaker is worth $10. What are you gonna do? Offer your friend a $20 bill, or put a gun to the back of his head until he forcefully gives it to you?
Yeah, are you implying that that's what Trump's doing to like these other countries, is putting a gun behind their head?
Well, like the implication here is that he's using the most abrasive means necessary to achieve an end goal when there's significantly less detrimental means in which he could use, not only to the American people, but also for our relationships with other countries. So these tariffs are hurting Americans now and reducing the likelihood that we enter into allyships or friendships with other countries in the future, reduces the likelihood that they're willing to cooperate with America, meaning that even if these tariffs do achieve better trade agreements, the tariffs were still very bad, just like if me putting a pew-pew to the back of my friend's head to get a speaker did achieve me getting a speaker, it was still a really bad idea for me to put the pew-pew to the back of his head.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. I just let me get my words together. Sorry. Never been on live. I didn't think you were actually going to accept this, if I'm being honest, Dean. It's kind of funny.
And then, like, one other thing, like, we know that you could achieve better trade agreements through diplomacy. Even Donald Trump was capable of that in his first term, when he renegotiated NAFTA and achieved the USMCA, which was the trade agreement that reduced tariffs between America, Mexico, and Canada.
No, there's you're probably right. Like, I do think there's probably better ways to go about getting like better trade like deals going on with other countries, but like to say that this is not a way, like this is not a working way and it's not capable of working, like I don't think is right either, because I think this is definitely a way, and it's
like I already said in the analogy, if I put a gun to the back of my friend's head to get a speaker, that would probably work insofar as achieving the end goal of me getting a speaker, but it's bad for all the reasons that I listed. So, like, sure, I do think that us tariffing other countries will work and getting them to reduce their tariffs on us, but for all of the reasons in which I've already listed, such as sending our own country into a recession, redistributing wealth from the poor to the rich, making American consumers spend more on the bare necessities to live, and reducing the likelihood of cooperation and allyship with other countries in the future, it's still yet a very bad way to get it to work, all right? Especially when we'd consider the relevant alternatives of achieving the same end goal of diplomacy through trade agreements, such as the USMCA, such as NAFTA, or such as the TPP, which are multinational trade agreements and which have already existed in the past.
Yeah, I'm not very familiar with that. I'm sorry. You're definitely a little bit more educated in like the lingo and the like all the very technical stuff. But no, it's definitely like it's definitely something to look at. Like we could definitely do something better, but I don't necessarily think it's like the worst thing. And I don't think it's. I think making it seem like it's a worse thing than what it really is, like.
I think that right now you're painting it to be something better than it really is, because you haven't like mentioned the fact that it is true that these tariffs are sending our country into a recession. It is true that they're significantly reducing GDP growth. They're causing inflation. They're redistributing wealth from the poor to the rich. They're distancing ourselves from every other country on earth. And now we have the chair of the Fed, Jerome Powell, saying that all these things are true. No, it's a terrible plan. In fact, I don't know if it could get much worse. No, it's like we need to see reality for what it is, and the fact of the matter is Donald Trump's economic policy is terrible.
Well, I disagree, but I appreciate you for having.
Why? You haven't given me tell me why I'm wrong.
I just believe what he's doing is all around. It's better for the country. I do think that like getting better trade deals with these countries, I do think that we have been getting screwed, and I do think that if we keep going down this route, we're not going to be.
Who are we getting screwed by?
Particularly China. China's the big one, right? That one's the big.
How has China been screwing us?
They screwing us is like in a way. In the tariffs, they're not reciprocal, right? We pay more in tariffs than they pay, right?
So every time we impose tariffs on China, they just up their tariffs on us. So we actually know that imposing tariffs on China is not a good way to achieve like trade deals, right? Like for instance, in 2018, when Donald Trump originally imposed tariffs on China, they bankrupted American farmers because China stopped accepting our soybeans. And it got so bad that Donald Trump had to bail American farmers out by sending a $28 billion bailout bill through Congress. The only people getting screwed right now are like Americans that rely on shipments from Hong Kong, shipments from China in order to either run their business because that's where the raw materials come from, or goods that they just buy overseas through small parcel delivery. You know, all of a sudden shipments are 245% more expensive. Small businesses are going bankrupt and people aren't getting their packages. Why? Because of Donald Trump. Not to mention like brokering like the TikTok deal. You know, like Donald Trump was very close to successful negotiation with China insofar as us achieving 50% of ownership of this platform. When he started upping the ante in them, it is the case that they pulled out any talks of the deal. So the only people getting screwed right now are like American consumers and honestly Chinese consumers too.
And I think it's short term. Again, I think you're right. It is mostly a negotiation tactic, but like I do think that there needs to be some kind of like fairness. Like, and they do manufacture so much for us, right?
The way to achieve fairness is through trade agreements.
Okay, yes, but and like I said earlier, like this might not be like there's definitely something better that could have happened. Like, but I'm saying
like Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris had significantly better economic policy. You know, if Kamala Harris was elected, we would actually be an accelerated GDP growth of over 4% per financial quarter, according to the Atlanta Fed. But now that Donald Trump is president, we're heading towards a recession. So you had the candidate that was going to send our economy into a recession, and the candidate that was going to make it flourish. We had the candidate that was going to be good for American stock markets. Now we have a president who has posted on Truth Social about how he's intentionally crashed them. If you wanted a better economy, you should have voted for Kamala Harris. You should support the Democrats.
I just disagree with that. I don't think Kamala Harris would have been better. Absolutely
really?
not.
So tell me.
She was vice president. Where was all this during Biden's term? Huh?
Sure, I don't mind answering your question. If you could answer mine, tell me one of her economic policies.
She was gonna. What was the deal with like the giving out the money for the houses? That like overall in the economy, giving out that much money for people to buy houses would tank everything.
Why?
It's like printing money that we don't have.
Sir,
when you give money that you don't have, and you keep printing money, and you keep giving people money that we don't have as a country, what does that do?
So her plan for her $25,000 subsidy for first-time homebuyers to buy newly developed properties cost in total $1.2 trillion. So Donald Trump's economic policy, specifically his cuts for people making over $395,000 per year, is estimated by the CBO to cost over $5 trillion. Not to mention, when during his first presidency in 2017, the cuts that he passed specifically for top 1% of income earners cost $1 trillion. And he spent more in his first term than Biden and Harris did. He spent twice as much. And his proposed policy for his second term cost 3 times as much as Kamala Harris's. Not to mention that money wasn't just being printed out of thin air, but she actually had other economic policy, such as increasing the corporate tax rate by 7% or granting Medicare a greater renegotiating ability with private pharmaceutical companies to actually pay it off in the next 10 years. So when you tell me, oh, it's going to crash the economy because we're spawning money in, Donald Trump has spawned in more, and he has not sent it to the average Americans that need it. He sent it to the billionaires, and he has no plan insofar as how he's going to pay that off in the long term. Meanwhile, Kamala Harris did.
Well, I'm unsure. You know, like I do think you make some great points, and you might have like all your statistics and whatnot, but we'll see, right?
I don't get like the lack of confidence as it relates to the claims that I'm making, because you told me with conviction that if Kamala Harris prints $1 trillion, she's going to kill the economy. But as soon as we learn that no, she was going to pay for it in over the course of the next 10 years with other policy, but Donald Trump literally wants to print around $8 trillion, all of a sudden you're unsure and we're going to have to wait and see. I just feel like that has been your brain like propagandized. Okay, you've become very susceptible to propaganda.
I just feel like everything you're saying, if it were to happen like under Kamala, like why didn't it happen over the last 4 years? Great things happen under Biden's administration, right? Like
all
she
the
was the
great
vice
things that
president.
would have like been a result of her policy.
Like why didn't they implement some of her policies that she was campaigning for during Biden's administration when they had plenty of time to do it?
So they're never going to implement policy that a presidential candidate is running on before the presidential candidate runs. I mean, think about it. If they did, she would have just simply run on other policy. Okay.
Wouldn't that give the Democrats more confidence? Wouldn't that give the Democrats more confidence?
Brendan,
though?
I need you to listen
Right?
to me here.
Right? Wouldn't that give the Democrats more
Brendan,
confidence
I need
in
you
their
to
vote? There's a reason Kamala lost, right?
Brendan, I need you to listen to what I'm saying here. Every single person that's ever going to run for the presidency will only run on policy that hasn't been passed yet. If they were to run on policy that has been passed, well, then they wouldn't be running on anything new that they are going to do for this country. So when you ask the question,
it just sounds like an empty.
So when you ask the question, why didn't she run on policy that was already passed? Why would anybody run on something that's already happened? I just want you to understand, like the rot that you're spewing right now. Everybody will only run on policy that they want to pass if they win the election. Like, think about it. Even Trump. Okay, I could simply ask, well, why didn't Trump pass any of the policy that he ran on in this presidential election during his first term? Okay, well, now let's just assume a hypothetical alternative version of reality where he did. It's not like he would have ran on no policy this term because he already passed it in his first. He would have just come up with new policy. That's the goal of presidential campaigns, is to think of new things that haven't been implemented yet that will make our country better.
Yeah, no, you know what? You got a point. Like, I'm not gonna say you don't, but like, I'm just saying, like, it's like if you're talking about confidence, like the American people didn't have confidence in the Democratic Party to deliver for the next 4 years. And if the Democratic Party really wanted to do something, they would have done it during Biden's administration when VP Harris definitely could have done something.
Oh, well, they were actually the most effective administration in modern U.S. history insofar as domestic policy. Nobody did it better than them. In fact, they got significantly more done than Trump.
And that's why Harris is in office right now, right?
So the reason that Harris is not in office is because the average American associated the negative economic outcomes of the pandemic with the administration. But that's just a red herring to my position. I'm going to go ahead and repeat what I said. The Biden-Harris administration passed some of the most monumental policy through Congress compared to any other administration in modern U.S. history, even compared to Trump. Like, how about this? Let's go policy.
You're just getting your information from like where are you getting your information from? Like who's saying they're the best? Like
so I'm getting my information from the bills passed through Congress, Congress.gov. Like, for instance, the PACT Act that invested $800 million into the expansion of e-healthcare programs, the infrastructure bill that invested $500 billion into renewing American infrastructure that created jobs and upsurged consumer confidence in the markets. Things like the Chips and Science Act, which was a multi-billion-dollar investment into American chip producers, so we could go from producing 1% of the global chip supply to 30%. I mean, what did Trump do? You're telling me that the Biden-Harris administration didn't do anything. They did great, dude. Name one bad policy that the Biden-Harris administration passed,
you will beat me in a debate
that the Trump administration passed.
You will beat me in a debate 9 out of 10 times because you're more politically you have a better grasp on political lingo and all these bills and stuff. Like, you're absolutely right. You will beat me in a debate because you know these things. But you'll see, in the next 4 years that things will actually get done, and that's kind of all I gotta say about that.
What did he get done during his first term? He's a very ineffective president. Most of that comes down to the time he spends on the golf course and his inability to work with Democrats in Congress. Well, he left, so apparently he didn't know. So we're gonna move on to the next guest. By the way, guys, I'm still kind of waking up for the day. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not woke yet. We're almost there, though. I probably just need to drink a little bit more of my cold coffee. What's going on, Tim? Do you support Trump?
Yes.
All right, Tim, before we hop into a discussion I'm going to go ahead and thank Nicole for the $10 donation over on PayPal. Nicole says, thank you for everything that you do. My MAGA parents are slowly shifting because of your debates. Dude, Nicole, that is awesome. In fact, I even saw a post on X last night where somebody said that they got their Trump-supporting mom to watch my stream, and then it showed a screenshot of a text where the mom was like, I really like this guy. He's smart. I'm going to continue to watch him. But anyways, give me a second, Tim. I'm just going to go live over on YouTube, so if you would just give me a second, that'd be great. Okay. Hello and welcome in for everybody watching over on YouTube. It is so good to have each and every single one of you guys in the live with me here today. We're going to go ahead and hop straight into our debates with over 100 Trump supporters, and we have the first Trump supporter up on the live right now, Mr. Tim. Mr. Tim, I'm going to go ahead and pass the mic off to you, and I would love for you to tell us all why you are MAGA, why you support the current administration, and you think they're doing a good job.
I support him. Well, the first reason is for his open border policy.
Do you mean closed border policy?
No, open borders.
You support Donald Trump because of his open border policy.
Yes, sir.
Okay, expand on that a little bit, Tim. This is a new one.
Well, because he is opening borders for our exporters to be able to trade our goods in their countries when otherwise they wouldn't be able to.
Oh, he's like opening barriers to trade so American companies can export more.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. Well, as it relates to his tariffs on China, that's not true. Every time we've increased tariffs on China, our own exports have gone down. In fact, there hasn't been one time where we've increased tariffs on China where U.S. agricultural exports have gone any direction but into the shitter. Now, as it relates to other countries that he's implemented tariffs on and has negotiated trade agreements with or may do so more, to a higher degree in the future, you're actually right. All right? Other countries' tariffs on us do slightly reduce our own exports. That's true.
So, do you think it's a good idea to be as reliant on China as we are right now?
Well, I don't even know what you mean by reliant on China. I think that we're all kind of reliant on each other as it relates to global commerce. And overwhelmingly, I think that is a good thing.
Well, they are a threat to our economic number one place in the world, like our economic dominance and sphere of influence.
I know, especially right now, because Donald Trump has isolated us from every other country on earth. And that's when China gets to then say, hey guys, guess what? I'm the new America. I'm the new dominator of global commerce. I'm the new leader. Come to me for all the needs that you need filled because the U.S. doesn't want you.
No, because if we're just going to sit by, they're growing at a faster rate than we are.
Oh, that's not true.
It totally is true.
How much do you want to bet, Tim?
$100.
Okay, well, I just made $100. I want you to go to Google, type in China GDP. Their GDP's actually gone down in the last 3 years.
Bro, they're growing at a 5% rate, and we're growing at like a 2% rate.
No, that's not true at all. Once again, I'll just give you, would you like the statistics? So for instance, once again, I just went to Google and I typed in China GDP. So their GDP in 2021 was $17.82 trillion. Their GDP in 2023 was $17.79 trillion. Their GDP has gone down and you owe me $100.
No, that's not true. I'm Googling mine right now.
Great. I mean, prove it to yourself. Anybody could do it. You just go to Google, you type in China GDP.
Oh my gosh. That is silly.
It is true though. Their economies was hit really hard by the pandemic, and they still haven't really recovered.
As it says, China GDP growth had a 5.2% annual change.
Okay, so
it grew by 5%.
What are the years there?
It says 2023. And the United States grew at 2.9%.
So no, from 2022 into 2023, their GDP was 17.88 trillion in 2022 to 17.79 trillion in 2023. Unironically, if anybody watching this live has a second device, please open your second device, go to Google, type in China GDP, and you will see that the data that I'm providing to you is accurate. I don't know why you're doing this, Tim.
Doing what?
Lying.
I'm not lying.
The change in the Chinese GDP between 2022 and 2023 was like what? like it lost $900 billion.
I mean, there's a line graph that shows that they have been growing at a much faster rate than us every single year.
No, in fact, the line graph shows otherwise. Once again, when you look up China GDP on Google, it automatically compares it to the GDP of Japan and the United States for whatever reason. And you'll see that the GDP of the United States is up.
So what did you Google?
GDP
Because
of
I
China is
Googled
stagnant.
I Googled China GDP growth.
Yeah.
What did you Google?
China GDP. But if I mean,
I'll try China GDP.
thanks, man.
All right.
Huh, you know what? You're right. When you look up China GDP growth rate, it does show that they had a growth rate of 5.2% in 2023. I wonder why they would say that. So Google's actually reporting competing statistics. So I'm not even.
Yeah, I'm looking at yours
Yeah.
and I see what you're saying too.
Yeah, I know. What the fuck is going on with Google, dude? Okay, all right. You no longer owe me $100. I'll give you that one because like Google's reporting contradictory information.
Yeah. What the hell?
Yeah, funny. I wonder what that's relating to. Never mind. I won't pressure you into paying up.
Okay. Yeah, that is interesting. I wonder why the hell that is like that.
Anyways, continue to make an argument.
Yeah.
How is that? What the fuck? Wait, I'm so curious. I don't know how to explain that. And like the part that makes it weirder is like I'm thinking like maybe that the reported statistic of that 5.2% change is from 2023 to 2024. But even then, if you then hover over 2022, it says 3%. But then the GDP I know went down between 2021 and 2022 and 2022 to 2023. So actually, I think it's possible that that's negative GDP growth. Like just it's a change, but a change doesn't necessarily imply a positive rate of change. That could be a negative rate of change. Like here, let me just do the math real quick to see what the percent difference is between 1.88 trillion and 17.79 trillion. Let me see. Everyone just go ahead and just give us a second while we're doing math over here because it doesn't say anything about positive change. Well, no, because the difference between 17.88 trillion and 17.79 trillion is like right around 1%. So I don't even know where like the rate of change figures are coming from.
Yeah.
All that I know is that like their GDP went down insofar as the reported figures, but weird, complex discrepancies between the data reported from Google. But anyways, yeah, do you have another argument that you want to make? I don't mind just completely ignoring that since we both found reliable sources for competing data that we probably don't have like sufficient information to correctly interpret.
Sure. And I just think that I feel like Trump was the first president in his first term that really like stood up to China. And I think Biden I think bipartisan, it was kind of agreed that like, hey, this is actually a good thing because China is rising. They're going to have a sphere of influence that will be unmatched if we don't do anything about it because they are the world's factory. And their style of government and their influence can be kind of threatening. Like, you guys think Trump is authoritarian? Like, look at the Chinese Communist Party. Like, they will make you disappear just for dissenting the government, even if you're a citizen of the country.
Okay, so you just like how like hard he. Okay, well here's actually the thing. So I disagree with tariffs, including tariffs on China, because I think that they hurt America. But I would like to say here that even Kamala Harris and Biden, they kept the tariffs on China, so they both had similar policy. So because they had similar policy as it relates to tariffs on China, well then I think that we should like reevaluate via other issues. Not to mention that Donald Trump has incessantly increased his tariffs on China. Now we're at a point where we have like 245% tariffs on them, which makes me think that he's continually increasing them so he could eventually get them to fold and he will fold, which inevitably means that there will possibly be more free trade between America and China.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just so much remains to be seen. I think this is going to be something that lasts on for at least a few more months, if not a year or so.
Well, I mean, think about it. Why does he keep increasing the tariffs on China? I mean, he told us why.
Because we're in like a full-fledged trade war.
And wait, could we at least agree that his goal was to impose tariffs on other countries to get them to reduce their tariffs on us, and if they reduce their tariffs on us, we'll drop our tariffs on them?
Yes, but
inevitably, what's going to happen is likely China is going to fold, and we're going to enter into a trade agreement with China where we both have low tariffs on each other. This doesn't really sound like this is conducive towards the goals that you're describing.
What do you think my goals that I'm describing are?
Yeah, like a lack of reliance on goods imported from China. But if we inevitably achieve a good trade deal with China, if anything, there'd be less barrier to trade. Meaning, under your view, there'd be more reliance.
Yeah, like Trump's the guy who doesn't. In my opinion, he doesn't show his whole cards. Like he does. He's doing one thing, saying one thing, but in his head, he's planning to do something else. So I think it's a double levered situation where we're trying to get anything that can be cheaply made. Maybe we go to somebody who's more of an ally, like India. And like they already talked about how they're doing trade agreements with India today. I saw something about on that. Or if something can be made with robotics and AI, like we could do that in America.
So I don't understand. So are you basically saying that just art of the deal, 6D chess, he's a genius, he's going to figure it out and do something good? In the most polite way I can say this, that is just cope, okay? So I was just able to detail exactly how what Donald Trump has done to China so far actually contradicts the goals that you want to achieve, because seemingly he's terrifying the fuck out of them until they fold and we achieve a trade agreement with a country that would reduce barrier to trade, and we're able to have like more trade between the countries, which would be, as you define, more reliance on China, which is bad for a lack of a reliance on the country as you described. So I don't really see your argument here. Why do you think Trump is a good president? Because right now, seemingly Trump wants to make trade between America and China easier in the long term.
I think he's trying to incentivize companies that can get out of there to get out of there. But
no,
also,
I don't think he is, because he's willing to let go of the tariffs he has on them. The same way he's willing to let go of the tariffs he has on any country that is willing to negotiate with him, which means that the tariffs are not permanent and confidently there to stay, which means that these producers in China or any other country have no incentive to start spending billions of dollars and spend 3 to 6 years to make manufacturing plants here, because we know that the tariffs will not be in existence in the long term.
it's possible, but I
No,
think
it's not possible. That's what is likely given all the information we have. He's already paused tariffs on other countries, and he's straight up said that if you don't retaliate, you will be rewarded, and we will take our
China's
tariffs
the
off
real
you.
target
It's
of
not,
these tariffs.
It's not possible. It's what is stated, and that's also not true. Every other country on earth is the target of these tariffs.
No, there's a reason why China is singled out right now, and everybody
it's
else.
because they retaliated.
Okay, but the European Union, the Canada, they retaliated.
Yeah, they did. Don't ask me. You're right. Oh, wow. There's a contradiction in my view. Seemingly, I actually have no clue why he kept tariffs on China and paused them on every other country. And because Donald Trump is just such a mess and has no clue what he's doing. You got
No, he's trying to get us from being over reliant on China.
Wait, no, that's literally not true in accordance with his goals. If he wanted us to be less reliant on to try to force their hand into going into a trade agreement with us.
Well, I mean, the trade agreement that they would have to make would have to be one that we would win overwhelmingly. So that would be the only way that he's going to make.
What does that look like? What do you mean we would win overwhelmingly? What does that mean?
Well, it means that it's something that would slow down their growth to a point that where they no longer look like they're going to overtake us as the global economic power.
Wait, trade agreements don't slow GDP growth; they expedite it.
That's why we would have to win, like overwhelmingly, is what I'm saying. Like they have a lot of barriers.
What do you mean? No, anybody that enters into a trade agreement that reduces barrier to trade has a more productive economy, and that's a fact.
Yeah, and maybe what
So
I'm saying,
it's not. I think it's impossible for a trade agreement to slow GDP growth.
but what I'm saying is, work with me here, is maybe the tariffs on China aren't temporary.
So you're okay. So you're saying that he's going to permanently keep 245% tariffs on China. Well, that fucks us so hard because then China will permanently keep 245% tariffs on us. Our soybean farmers, goodbye. Our small businesses that are either reliant on products or raw materials from China, the third largest economy in the world. Goodbye, small parcels being shipped from Hong Kong. Goodbye, our GDP growth in the shitter. We're heading towards a recession. It is absolutely fucked. It fucks us over. It reduces our GDP growth, and it's really bad for our country. And by the way, the Federal Reserve agrees with me and disagrees with you. The chairman of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, straight up said everything I'm saying right now on a hot mic yesterday.
Sure, and yeah, war is never going to be good for anybody's economy. But I think we have gotten to a point in our history where where we are kind of spoiled. Like, thank God there's nuclear weapons out there today, because now we're not having to do actual wars with a country like China.
How does any of this relate? How does any of this relate to my point?
It relates.
I'm saying if the tariffs that he's imposing on China are being used to achieve a trade agreement, then ultimately speaking, there's going to be more trade between America and China. And if they're in the long term, they really fuck us over. They hurt so many Americans. And then your response to this was to talk about war? What?
Yeah, because this is the new version of war. Like, we just have to cut down our spending. Maybe we don't go out to eat 4 times a month. We only go out to eat twice a month. Like, this is us in a full-fledged war right now with China.
No way you're reiterating this. Oh my God, dude, I swear to, you know what, Tim, keep it up. You know what, Tim, I'm not even going to debate you on this. I want you to keep it up. I want you to continue to use this rhetoric and tell everybody to own nothing and be happy. And this is going to blow over great.
Be thankful you're not going over to China in a boat with assault rifles. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, exactly. Keep this rhetoric up. Say, own nothing, be happy, be thankful you're not shooting people with guns overseas. I want you to keep on using that rhetoric. It's going to be huge for MAGA in midterms. I'm not even going to debate that rhetoric because of how true it is and how much I just want you to continue to reiterate that. That's right. You heard it here first, folks. Own nothing, be happy. Okay, cut down on your spending. You don't need that new iPad. You don't need that new iPhone. You don't need to eat out. Okay, and just be thankful that you're not on a ship overseas shooting people with ARs. Just own nothing, be happy, guys.
Well, I mean, you yourself are responsible for your own success. If you're blaming it on a president why you're not successful, that is your own problem, in my opinion.
So I think that it's the role of our government to enable us to have the most productive environment that's conducive towards the highest level of success. And I absolutely do think it is okay for us to say that our government is not creating that environment and is actually restricting our likelihood of further success by making it harder for us to live.
Let me ask you a question. Do you understand why our education system doesn't really match up with a lot of the other Western world countries?
I'm sorry, that's just a complete pivot. I want to stay on top.
No, I'm going to tell you why. And it's because we're so focused on our 2- and 4-year elections that the politicians, they don't want to invest in something that they're not going to see the returns on 10, 12 years down the road. And that's what I feel like the left is doing with this China situation. It's like, oh, it's going to hurt our country for the next couple years. But really, Trump is looking down the line 10, 15 years from now when China is going to overtake us, and communism and that type of government style is going to be spreading all in left-wing authoritarianism is going to be spreading all over the globe, and they're going to take away the value of the dollar, and America is going to crumble slowly but surely, and Trump is standing up for our values.
Okay, so first and foremost, you have no clue what communism is. Second of all, the only authoritarian government that I'm personally aware of You know what? Never mind. There's a couple authoritarian governments, but I'd say
Like the Chinese Communist
the only
Party.
authoritarian government that directly negatively impacts you and me and every other American is the one in which we're under right fucking now. I mean, our president today is ignoring the Supreme Court. Our president today is calling for the termination of the Constitution, saying that he wants to serve a third term. He's disappearing people and human trafficking innocent migrants to kill cells in El Salvador.
No.
The only authoritarian regime that serves as an immediate threat to Americans is the American government.
Everything you said just now was false. Like,
no, that's not true. Everything.
yeah,
I
he's
said
not
was
an
true.
innocent migrant. He came here illegally. He's beat up his wife on multiple times. His wife filed for a protection order. He's getting arrested with MS-13 members, wearing MS-13 gear. And then a confidential informant who is reliable said his exact ranking in the MS-13 gang. He was denied bond on 2 occasions for the accusations of being an MS-13 member.
So wait, I just want to clarify. Didn't like the wife put out a statement about how she wants his return, and she filed that police report? But they were like able to work it out domestically with the use of therapists. Now, like, of course, I don't want to undermine men harming women. I think that is like incredibly important to point out that on another hand, I'd say if you think that men that do bad things to women are not innocent and deserve to be disappeared to kill cells in El Salvador, well, how come you voted for a rapist?
Well, I don't know about him being a rapist, but
say rapist. The only reason I said it the way I did was for like full effect, because I want it to be understood exact. I hate censoring that word. I hate censoring that word so much because anyways, different subject. I'm sorry. I'm going on a rant. How come the fuck you voted? How come you voted for the rapists if you like to disappear men that are bad to women?
Well, look, I don't like Trump personally, like as a person, but I think that his methods for protecting our country are better than the methods that Kamala had for protecting our country.
Was his idea of protecting?
Rise.
What was his idea of protecting our country? To disobey civil rights, liberties, and freedoms, throw due process out the window, call our media illegal, and then willingly and intentionally let violent offenders that beat up cops on January 6th out of jail to roam free on our streets, calling them patriots?
Hey, I don't agree with the January 6th pardons of the violent criminals.
Yeah.
Like,
and another way to protect our country was to advocate for economic policy that you admitted redistributes wealth from the poor to the rich, when most violent crime is consequential of poverty. And when we redistribute wealth from the poor to the rich, it increases poverty, meaning it increases violent crime, right?
Wait, hold on. So making our country safe, I'm talking about is going after the cartels who are killing more Americans than anything. The F substance is the #1 killer of adult American adults, and you have to go after these cartels who are doing this.
Wait, I have a question. What do we have more control over? Like the ground and people on the ground of Mexico, or the ground and people on the ground of the U.S. southern border that are coming into our country?
The U.S. southern border.
Okay, so because we have more control over the border than Mexico, we should be focusing most of our attention on better border policy to reduce the inflow of DRUGS, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Well, 85% of those things are trafficked by citizens across the southern border. Name one time Donald Trump has ever stood at a mic on a podium and said that he wants to, pass better legislation to be more restrictive of citizens crossing our southern border.
He's increasing the funding going to the border, which allows for more technology to help with the security. And he
but
has something.
I just want to know about one time specifically where he's pointed out
is his
that
policy.
85% of the DRUGS that come into our country are trafficked by citizens. He has never done anything. He's never spoken into a mic and spoken about that fact. Name one time where he straight up spoke about U.S. citizens coming into this country across our southern border with substances, when that accounts for 85% of the people that do.
Yes, because everybody knows the cartels.
So you're saying, yes, he's done that. Give me an example. I want you to literally give me an example of Donald Trump acknowledging that, and even just like virtue signaling about him wanting to do something about it.
It's the results of what he's doing. You have to.
I want to clarify. We could agree that he's never once spoke about the citizens bringing DRUGS into America, right?
I don't know if he has.
He hasn't. He hasn't. That's a thing. He
But
focuses all of his attention, energy, and
policy and his
effort
effect
onto
is
undermining undocumented migrants and calling them villains, dehumanizing them, telling Americans they should be scared of undocumented migrants, while passing no long-term policy to make the means of entry into America either safer or more restrictive upon citizens that may or may not.
Policy out of all. The Border Patrol is spread so thin when you have a weak Democratic president who virtue signals that we pretty much have open borders, and when there's 7 million encounters at the southwestern border over 4 years, what do you think the Border Patrol is so busy doing? Chasing after all these people who are running across fields and fences, trying to track them down, instead of being able to focus on the citizens that are going right through the ports of entry, who the cartels are being used. They use those citizens to mule in things because they know that's the best way to circuit.
Now you're contradicting yourself. Didn't you just say that Donald Trump is focusing on the citizens coming across the border by funding Border Patrol more?
Yeah.
Yeah, in the year 2024, under the Biden-Harris administration, we funded CBP and ICE more money than we have ever in American history to be restrictive of DRUGS coming across their southern border and for their operations as a whole. But you'll never talk about that. If you think the end game of Trump is just to fund more money to Border Patrol and that is his solution to a lot of problems, well, then explain to me why you just went on a rant for 5 minutes explaining to me why you think Biden and Harris are so bad when they funded Border Patrol more than anybody ever.
Because 2024, by that time, you'd already screwed this whole situation up, and it's too late. You already let 5 million people pretty much come to the border who think they can just come across here with no repercussions whatsoever.
Oh, wait, so you said that the Biden-Harris administration...
This should have been policy from 2021.
You said that the Biden-Harris administration screwed things up at the border. Name one bad border policy they passed. Name one thing they did to the border that was bad.
It's the virtue signaling of how weak and how they can just claim asylum
so they didn't
and get
actually,
a court date and then roam free.
So they actually didn't do anything. It's the fact that their rhetoric was bad, but their policy wasn't bad, right?
It's 3 words: peace through strength. And that is exactly why Trump's
don't pivot. Don't pivot. I want you to name. Yes, you are, because I asked you to specifically name
people
one
are scared
policy
of Trump.
that the Biden-Harris administration passed that was bad for immigration. I think that Kamala Harris was significantly better than Donald Trump for immigration.
Too weak. Nobody respects them. From other countries, they're not scared of them. They're scared of Trump. They're scared to get shipped off to a prison in El Salvador. It's called a deterrent.
Right. I don't think that scaring migrants is a good thing. I think that scaring migrants is a bad thing. I think
illegal
that
migrants.
I think that deterring individuals from wanting to come to our country by saying that we could fucking disappear you to an El Salvadorian kill cell, then forget about you, even if the Supreme Court rules that we got to get you back, is indicative of a very scary dystopian reality where we don't treat humans like humans. I would say the reason why Kamala Harris was a significantly better presidential candidate than Donald Trump, even for immigration, was because she was focused on long-term, proactive solutions that aren't just good for the migrants, but also good for this country. Even if we want to reference the undocumented migrants that are already in America, they only help this country. $100 billion in taxes are paid by undocumented migrants per year. Trillions of dollars in an estimated, projected, and current GDP growth at the hands of their labor and the funding they receive from their employers by working on ITINs. That benefits our economy. It strengthens American manufacturing. It increases the size of the labor force. And I think it's so funny that you're pro-American as it relates to Donald Trump's tariffs, so we could be a more globally dominant force insofar as our productive industries. But the moment that we have a plan that would actually help aid and abet in that idea, such as giving mass amnesty to every single undocumented migrant in this country that's not committed a violent crime, so these millions of American workers can continue to work in our labor force and continue to pay taxes, which would aid and abet in being a more dominant force on the global stage and we should just strip them of all their civil rights and liberties, strip them of human rights, say that we could disappear you to a kill cell. It is contradictory.
No, because the people that are getting shipped there are the ones that are associated with foreign terrorist organizations such as MS-13 and such
you have
as...
no evidence of that. Wait, we have not given these individuals due process, so you cannot say that with confidence.
our intelligence committees are the ones saying it. I'm going to listen to people like the DEA, the DHS, and the ICE as far as like who they seem, because they have better intelligence gathering resources than we do.
Okay.
And if you are
I
a
want to
foreign
clarify.
terrorist,
Do you think that Donald Trump is a rapist?
no.
So let me get this straight. Donald Trump can be given due process inside of a civil court where over the course of 3 years, a jury determines unanimously that he's guilty of raping E. Jean Carroll. That's not enough evidence, okay? But if an undocumented
you look at
migrant
the evidence?
is if an undocumented, yes, I did. But if an undocumented migrant is assumed to be a member of MS-13 based upon what? Testimony, then that is enough evidence to send him to a kill cell for the rest of his life.
Well, hey, where he's at in El Salvador is because he's an El Salvadorian citizen, and that is the policy that they have at the moment. I would really encourage you to try to find somebody that lives in El Salvador.
You're completely changing the topic of conversation.
No, I'm
You're saying that
not.
we have enough evidence to believe that Garcias is a member of MS-13, but we don't have enough evidence to believe that Donald Trump is a rapist, even though Donald Trump was given due process and a jury unanimously determined his guilt. What jury unanimously determined Garcia's guilt?
Well, first of all, that was a civil court in Manhattan.
Which is significantly more due process than what for Garcias?
Garcia, he has protection orders of beating his wife, of driving aggressively with emotion.
Whoa! I've already responded to all this. I've already responded to all this, and you're still pivoting because I'm specifically asking for you the evidence that he's a member of MS-13. Are you saying every man that does something? Wait. So does this mean that Donald Trump? Okay, let's just assume that Garcia did beat his wife. Okay, which is very bad. So you're basically saying if a man harms a woman, they're a member of MS-13. So I want to make this clear because Donald Trump is a rapist. He's the leader of MS-13?
So Trump, I looked at the evidence and there's nothing in there convinced me.
Trump is a member of MS-13 because he raped a woman.
No.
Yes.
No,
That was your argument.
No, it wasn't.
Yes, it is.
You have to look at all the evidence. There's actual evidence.
Like what?
Like people that were in MS-13 with him that said he is a member, like his clothing that show he's wearing the exact clothing. He got arrested with a leader of the MS-13. The confidential informant even said his own rank. He got withholding of removal from rival gangs in El Salvador. So he came from gang life. He was with gang members, wearing gang clothing attire. He has court evidence.
Wait, I have a question. What is gang clothing attire?
So MS-13, it's known in El Salvador, they all wear Chicago Bulls.
Oh my God! You have to be kidding me! Wow! Everybody watching the stream, watch out! Okay, sees you. Okay, if a cop sees you with that on, you're getting disappeared to El Salvador for the rest of your life.
No, it's
you are
not
guilty,
that alone.
guilty.
Where there's
then also,
smoke, there's
you said that there
fire.
was testimony from somebody else that merely said he was a member of MS-13. What about the testimony from E. Jean Carroll, her therapist from the 90s, and 7 of her friends that all testified that Donald Trump raped her?
Okay, were they there?
Oh my God! Great.
It was his word versus her word.
Right.
And they were in a dressing room together.
Wait. So you're saying that if it's one person's word versus another person's word, it's therefore invalid and you don't have sufficient evidence? Well, it's Garcias's word versus the confidential informant's word.
Yes, but then he got arrested, running around throwing drugs under cars, wearing drug clothing, wearing Chicago Bulls.
Okay, I got to kick you for that because that's going to get the live restriction. But I just want to point out here that ultimately that view is just, it reduces down to like xenophobia and racism. Like I guess if you're Latin American and you wear a Chicago Bulls jersey, you're a member of MS-13 and you're wearing DRUG clothing. So we got to kick him just because that's going to get us a restriction and a violation. But at this point, we're going to move on to the next guest. Everyone, if you are in that queue, make sure that you do indeed support Trump. Everyone, just go ahead and just give us a minute, y'all. And if you're one of the 7,000 people in here, guys, make sure that we're double tapping away on that phone screen. What is going on, Brayson? Do you support Trump?
Of course.
All right, give me one moment to thank a couple people here. Heather, thank you so much for the $20 donation over on Venmo. Thank you so much for the love, Heather. Heather says, I just really appreciate what you're doing and the knowledge that you share. Thank you. Thank you so much, Heather. That is so incredibly kind of you. Thank you so much. Then also Connor with the $10 over on Venmo saying, let's fucking go, Dean. Connor, my man, it's good to see you today. Show some love to Heather and Connor. Then Alexia with the $5 over on Venmo as well. All right, what is going on, man? Why do you support Trump?
My life's been great since he's been in office.
Okay, like the second term, man? Really? What? I mean, I think it's like a pretty like undeniable fact that like the economy of America as a whole has been going downhill since his inauguration.
No, I'm gonna just get this out first. I'm not a huge. You would kill me in like debates and shit. I just had a couple questions on why you supported Biden.
Well, sure, yeah, go for it.
So I know you just kind of debated a little bit, but the border stuff. They opened the border, correct?
Incorrect.
They didn't open the border.
No, how did they do that? How did they open the border?
More illegals didn't come over here under the Biden administration.
So the claim that there was more undocumented migration into America under Biden compared to Trump's first term doesn't mean that therefore the Biden-Harris administration opened the border.
But more came over under their administration, correct?
Yeah, that claim is true.
Okay. Why do you think they did that?
Okay, well, I'll explain to you like literally why that happened. If you could at least try to substantiate your first claim that they opened the border. Like what policy or executive order did they pass or sign into law that opened the border?
Well, I'll say that more came in, not necessarily opened the
backlogged migrants that have wanted to come into our country for like a year and a half prior because of the pandemic. A lot of countries south of America were hit significantly harder than America, and their socioeconomic conditions were like really fucked, which caused a lot of people to want a higher quality of life in America. But when they got to the southern border, they were told that they couldn't come in because of Title 42, which was essentially a complete shutdown because of the pandemic. And once that expired because the pandemic ended, a lot of people were like, okay, now I want to come into America, but the legal means of entry were super duper backlogged because of Title 42, which gave a lot more incentive to individuals to use undocumented means of entry. So that is why we had a huge spike in undocumented entry.
So the way I looked at it was they allowed all them to come over here to help them with voting illegally.
Okay.
Is the way that I looked at it.
Well, I'd like to clarify, are you registered to vote?
Yes.
Okay. When you registered to vote, what did you have to do? Did you have to give like your state registry, like your social security number?
I had to give my driver's license. I can't remember what all I gave them.
So you have to give them your social security number. Do undocumented migrants have social security numbers?
I have no idea.
The answer is no. So no, undocumented migrants can't register to vote, which means they can't vote because you have to be registered in order to vote. Gotcha.
All right. And then what about the illegals that Trump is sending back? Do you have a problem with it, or do you agree with it?
Yeah, I have a pretty radically left view on immigration. I think that every single undocumented migrant in this country that has not committed violent crimes should just straight up be given a pathway to residency or citizenship. That's probably my furthest left take.
So you think they don't have to come over here legally?
Well, like the legal process would be granted to them given that they're already in our country. So they would still have to undergo a legal process to be a resident or citizen, but that legal process would just be undergone by them now after they're already in our country.
Okay, cool. All right. What about well, you just said that you don't want to repeat that so you don't get banned on TikTok for what dude was talking about. The way I look at it, it's easier just to go ahead and send all them back. That way they can come over here legally. And Trump is like, well, do you agree with ICE and all that stuff? No, same answer you just had.
Well, do you mind if I just respond to that real quick? I mean, I think that saying that we need to send people back so then they could come here legally, like, let's just like ignore the humanitarian concerns there. And just focus on the economic implications. I feel like maybe that is a better way I could convince you. You're basically saying that we should remove millions of workers from our workforce that also pay taxes, so then they could stop working, stop paying taxes, just to go through the legal processes, so then they could work again and pay taxes again is a really inefficient way to document the undocumented migrants in our country. We should rather just let them to continue to exist in this country, continue to work, continue to pay taxes, but make sure that they undergo the correct processes while they're here.
But if they're illegal, they don't pay taxes. They don't get taxes, right?
No, they do. So undocumented migrants can work on ITINs, in which they then pay taxes to the government as a W-2 employee under. In fact, they pay around $100 billion per year in federal taxes, federal, state, and local taxes, and that's on top of sales tax.
I was under the impression like they had to get a green card or whatnot to be able to work here legally and get taxes taken out.
No, you just need an ITIN.
So I don't with Trump. And then another thing is like debating Trump, you know, he's only been in office 3 months, correct?
Yeah, it
So
feels like 5 years already. I can't believe it's only been 3 months.
Everything that he is doing is not gonna impact right away. You do realize everything that the Biden administration doing, he has to completely change, and it's not going to get done in 3 months.
So I actually do think that a lot of his policy has had immediate impacts, especially as tariffs, because I mean the decline in consumer confidence is immediate as soon as the headline hits, and that's why we saw trillions of dollars wiped out of the stock market and like negative GDP growth in this financial quarter. And you're saying that he has to have more time to undo all the bad things that the Biden-Harris administration did. What's one of the bad things they did? I think they really only did good things in the sense of domestic policy.
Well, I know whenever he took over, gas prices went up, food prices went up, everything went up. Dude couldn't speak, he couldn't walk, and all y'all are supporting a guy that I honestly think somebody behind doors was giving him answers, because anytime somebody would ask him an answer, he couldn't answer it on his own. He would talk about rocks out in the driveway. And that's who y'all supported as a president.
Well, Donald Trump talks about sharks and batteries. So maybe comparing Biden to Trump, here's what I'll say. I'll take the old guy that's a little incoherent at times, that has rocking solid domestic policy that genuinely does good for America and for the American people, compared to the old guy that is completely incoherent, that can't not distinguish truth from lies, that tried to coup and rig the outcome of a presidential election, grape woman wants to redistribute money from the poor to the rich. But you said that when he assumed office, the price of things went up. So there's a lot of inflation caused by the pandemic. That wasn't local here in America, that was global. But specifically about gas prices, the main reason why gas prices increased was because of a decline in the global supply of oil. And the main reason there's a decline in the global supply of oil was because we started sanctioning Russia and we stopped buying their oil because they started ethnically cleansing Ukraine.
Right. So why are they down now?
What's that?
So why are the gas prices down now?
Well, I mean, I think like the most recent updates that we've seen insofar as a reduction in the price of gasoline is because the futures market plummeted alongside every other market because of Trump's tariffs. But I mean, that's just resemblant upon the price of barrels of oil that investors have already locked in for the future. So, I mean, that hasn't even hit like current gas prices yet.
Right.
I haven't really seen a drastic decline or stagnant or have gone slightly up.
Well, I know whenever he was in office, you know, it was $3 to $4 a gallon, and now I live in Tennessee, and gas stations go anywhere from $2.38 to $2.50.
So what did Trump do to reduce the price of gas?
I'm not 100% sure. I'm just saying from the
So you're
time
just saying it happened under his term, therefore he caused it. So in April of 2020, when we had the highest level of unemployment since the Great Depression happened under his term, he caused that too?
I'm not 100% sure.
See what I mean, though? If something good happens, well, if something seemingly good happens under Trump's administration, it's his fault. But if something definitely bad happens under Trump's administration, you're kind of agnostic on if it's his fault. That's like just indicative of you being susceptible to propaganda.
I don't know. Just in my I mean, yes, I'm a Trump supporter, and like that last dude said, no, I don't support everything he says. Not everybody's not gonna support everything that a president does or says. That's just, I mean, you're not ever gonna agree with everything. I just have noticed from the time that Biden was in office to when Trump was in office, things were a lot simpler, easier. There wasn't no wars, and like that last dude that was in here, uh,
Oh, but
he had a
now we have a trade war with every other country on the planet, and
over
he's
tariffs,
thinking
yeah.
about using the military to invade Greenland, and he wants to economically coerce Canada and Panama into annexation, and he is like himself wanting to ethnically cleanse 2.1 million Palestinians off the Gaza Strip, and because he revoked his support for Ukraine, countries like the UK and France are considering putting their boots on the ground, and if NATO boots on the ground in Ukraine are killing Russian troops, well, then the likelihood of a third world war started by Russia invading NATO countries goes significantly up. Global tensions are at a high for modern American history.
Right, but I was saying while he's been president, there's been no wars, and under Biden, there's been wars.
Well, I mean, actually, the claim that under Donald Trump's presidency there's been no wars is false. Right now, we are experiencing a war between Russia and in Ukraine, and ethnic cleansing at the hand of Israel to Palestine. So that claim is wrong now.
But he's only been president for 3 months. That
I
started
mean, even
before
under
he
his
was
first
president.
administration, we had the Turkish-Kurdish war, a 438% increase in drone strikes in the Middle East, and a proxy war with Russia in Syria.
Well, I'll let you have that. I'll just have one more question, and I'll be off here.
Oh, and he's like bombing the shit out.
I'll just have one more question, then I'll get off here. I'll let you debate with other people. But so, what are the biggest things? Like, I know you voted for Kamala, I'm guessing.
Kamala, yeah.
So, say for example, she won. You don't think we'd be in war?
Would we be in war right now?
Well, meaning like the reason why nothing has happened is because people are scared of Trump because he does stuff and gets stuff done. Compared to say a woman became our president, they're going to look at her as a weaker link and
Because
try
she's a
to
woman?
overdo us.
So I just want to clarify your position. You're basically saying that you'd never vote for a woman because women are perceived as weak?
No, I'm not saying that.
So you're saying that Kamala Harris is weaker than Donald Trump because she's a woman?
So I just think she would get ran over.
The only candidate in the race in 2024 that is getting taken advantage of and manipulated by other world leaders is literally Trump. Like, unironically, we have leaked documents from the Kremlin where Putin straight up says that Donald Trump is easy to manipulate. Plus, he's been laughed at by like 2 UN councils and at least 3 leaders from the EU on Twitter in the last 60 days. So, like, when we actually look at the empirics of like which candidate the rest of the world thought was more laughable, more weak, and easier to manipulate, the answer to that question was Trump. It's really easy to manipulate Trump as long as you give him flattery and praise, and you yourself are an individual that has power. Elon Musk was pretty successful with that. I mean, Elon Musk single-handedly got Trump to support H-1B visas after historically not supporting them for the last 8 years. And Putin, got him to be his number one guy, so.
Okay.
Hey, well, have a good rest of your day, man.
You too.
What's going on, Brenda? Do you support Trump?